The Marlins win the series against the Washington Nationals, and the bats are on fire. There's a lot of standouts, and I'm going to dive into it with LMF on today's Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins, and I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. As always, this is your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. You see LMF dancing. We're hyped. We are excited to be here, and I'm glad you are here as well. Don't forget to hit me up on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, and if you're listening to the podcast, leave a rating and review. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And on today's show, LMF and I are going to discuss the Marlins winning the series against the Washington Nationals. The offense is exploding right now. We're going to take a look at the trade between the Baltimore Orioles and the Marlins. How important was that trade for the Marlins' future? And then in the final segment, key players are coming back soon. Dive into all of that. But first off, loud Marlins fan, you're pumped up. I'm excited. How we doing?
We are doing great. What a wonderful way to end the week. Staying over 500 after 15 glorious games of baseball. Our team is just performing. I'm not going to say overperforming. I'm going to say just where I thought they'd be at this point. They've had a tougher schedule, but it's gone in our way. And I'm happy. I'm excited, jubilant. Let's get going, man. Let's do this.
They're over 500, 15 games into the season for a team that had little to no expectations. I'm taking that 10 times out of 10. Every single time I'm going to take that. And we head into a big week in which you face two really good baseball teams, the Diamondbacks and the Phillies. That's a real challenge. But right now, let's revisit the series against the Nationals. They take 2 out of 3. Sandy got a start on Saturday, wasn't at his best. They still found a way to win. They put up 7 runs in that win. And then in Sunday's game, scoring 11. It was awesome. The bats are exploding.
It was a great series. Even in the loss on Friday night, the team played well. They came back. They tied the game. Hill had a spectacular home run in that game. Unfortunately, the bullpen kind of blew it up in the later innings, but they made up for it. Saturday, as you mentioned, Sandy not at his best. He's a new father, not getting a lot of sleep. He has a whole new regimen off the field, on the field, and he even said, "Look, I hate walking people." He walked 4, and that hurt him. I think I forget how many runs were charged to him, but I think they finished around like 5 runs or so, something like that. At the end of the day, good teams or decent teams, they back each other up. Sandy's the general, and they saved him from and gave him a win of that game. And Cal Control, for how many walks he had in Sunday's game, yesterday's game, they really backed him up as well. The defense behind him with Otto Lopez, he came late in the game. Otto had a great hit, but earlier in the game, he was 0 for 3, I think, with 3 strikeouts. So coming into that last at bat, that fourth at bat where he got a base hit, it was much needed, but he really played well, flashed the leather a lot. This team is just built differently than the good teams like the 1 in 23 that we had that gelled well. This team's just built differently, and it's super exciting right now for us.
It's incredible to watch this team come together and gel and perform at levels that, frankly, I didn't expect. They're playing with excitement. They're playing with passion. And that's all I can ask for. And when you do that, you have a competitive team. This team is going to compete every single night. They're going to battle to the very end, win or lose. And when you do that, you put yourself in a good position to win baseball games. And that's exactly what they did. The two last games of this series. They take the series against the Nationals, and 11 runs in Sunday's game. To me, that was the most complete baseball game the Marlins have played from an offensive perspective. Everybody was just showing up. I mean, Kyle Stowers had been ripping the ball all series, got some bad luck, hit some hard hit outs, and then he got 3 hits. Matt Mervis comes in with a pinch hit, absolute bomb to dead center. You had Eric Wagaman with a 3-hit game. And how about Javier Sanoja? Shout out Sanoja, because we were talking about possibly Sanoja needing to go back to AAA, and he said, no, I don't need that. I'm here. I'm here to stay. I can play every position on the diamond pretty much and then hit over 300 and go on this hitting streak. It's incredible right now.
The only player that's still in some sort of drought, it would seem, is Jonah Bride, unfortunately. But the rest of the players that you and I spoke about the last few Mondays have really started to come through and pan out. You mentioned the Hebrew Hammer, my boy Matt Mervis, the Duke Blue Devil. He really showed up this week for this team. He missed a bunch of games because of the left-handed pitching at the end of last week into Monday. But really, he came out firing. He had, I think, all 5 home runs happened in the last week or so, if not 4 of them, including a 2-home-run game versus was that the Braves?
That was the Braves series.
Yeah, that was the Braves series. It's just all so exciting.
Yeah.
But Matt Mervis has really come out and into his own. Right, it's going to be very difficult because as you and I are live right now on a Monday morning, this team's not even 100% together. They're missing their catcher who was on fire. They're missing Connor Norby, their starting third baseman, who is a big piece of this team. Probably could be the most consistent hitter on this team, other than Xavier Edwards. And they're missing our boy Sanchi. So, you know, this team's not even 100% together, and they're over 500, 15 games in. It's the same record as the 2023 Marlins were. They were 8-7. And you go back to last year where it was just a miserable start, miserable season. They've totally flipped the script, and Bendix did some cooking that the league and fans of this team were not expecting.
2-13. That was the record of the Marlins 15 games into the season a year ago. I mean, you look at the fan base and where we were as a fan base last season at this time, it's night and day different. The sense of hope has returned to this fan base. And I am so excited to have that feeling and watch these guys knowing that a lot of them are competing to be part of the Marlins' future. That, to me, is the most exciting proposition you could have presented me at the beginning of the season. Say, you know what, Jeremiah, we're going to throw out this team that on paper, they might not be the best. They're not going to stack up to the Mets with their salaries or the Phillies with their experience. But you know what? There's some talent on this team, and there's some drive and passion. I look at someone like Griffin Conine, coming up last year as a 27-year-old rookie. He's here to stay. He's legit. Kyle Stowers is a legit major league player. Matt Mervis, I mean, the dude has power for days, like a power surge. Where's the power breaker in Marlins Park, Lone Depot Park? He's the one operating it right now. This is just awesome. I mean, the offense, after a stretch of games in which they weren't scoring runs, they were struggling against the Mets, got shut out by the Braves. They flipped the switch, and I'm super pumped.
It's just, you know, you're 8-7. We can't really say anything bad about this team right now.
Right.
The bad stuff that we would say about the team are mediocre to what's going on in the field. Look, Clayton McCullough has not called perfect games this week for his team. He's made some rookie coaching mistakes, leaving guys in too long, taking them out too early. It's different every day. He's flipping the run, taking out Dane Myers, who has got so many clutch hits, to put in a Kyle Stowers, and then it works out for you. Today, I think yesterday, taking out Brantley for that third at bat and plugging in Hicks, who, remember, Hicks had never been to AAA. The guy's coming out of AA, into a major league role has to stay on this team and has to continuously earn the spot, knowing that Agustin Ramirez is creeping up behind him. Now, they didn't put any pressure here really on him because they bring Brantley up. Brantley had a horrible game at the plate yesterday, but he makes a move to bring in that rookie Hicks, and Hicks gets a base hit, or it was a base hit. It was a sacrifice fly to take the lead.
Brought in an RBI, yeah.
It's those little things, playing small ball. Yeah, you got the Hebrew Hammer bashing them out, but besides him, really, they're winning by playing small ball. And they're doing it with Dane Myers with an injured foot, Kyle Stowers stepping up. You mentioned Conine. They both surprised us. They weren't supposed to make the team. One of them was not going to be the fourth outfielder. Now you have one who is your veteran outfielder. Where's he going to be? I want Sanchi on this team to help with that power, but who are you going to take out right now? I hope Dane doesn't go on the IL. Might be an easier decision than we have to deal with right now. But if that happens, and going into the next 6 games, as you mentioned, you got the Diamondbacks coming into town, and then we're away in Philadelphia. These are 2 big series to really say, where are you as a team? Look, the Nationals beat us 11 of the 13 times last year. We hadn't beat them in a series since 2023. So you've taken a step above them already, or step up where you've been against them last year. And then you have the Diamondbacks. Their pitching's not been all that, but compared to the Marlins pitchers on paper, the Diamondbacks have the better pitching staff. So it's going to be a big series there. And then next weekend, possibly facing the former Marlins great Jesus Luzardo. What if we get a Jesus Sandy game? I got to look at the pitching matchup, see if they line up. But that would be pretty cool. But look, again, they're not doing it perfectly, but they're doing it their way. Scrappy, coming back, playing to the last out, even when they were down by 4 or 5 runs in that Friday game. The coaching staff has done an amazing job beating into these players. You have a chance no matter what. And then these young athletes, we're the youngest team in the league, I believe, of no players above 30 right now on the roster.
Yeah.
The youngest team in the league, and they're really stepping up in a time where everybody underestimated them.
One of the players that I certainly underestimated and a lot of fans underestimated was Kyle Stowers. He was a key return of the trade package last summer that involved Trevor Rogers. We're going to revisit that trade and talk about just how important this trade can be for the Marlins this season and many years to come. That's coming up right after this. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1-ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better-for-you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein. It provides all 9 essential amino acids, and these little green wonders pack a protein punch. They have both the in-shell variety, guys, and just the shell-less Wonderful Pistachios. I like shell-less pistachios. I just like not opening them up. It's just easy to reach in the bag, grab some, and have an easy snack. That's my go-to. But if you like the in-shell options, which is a classic favorite, those are great. And if you're running between meetings or you're dropping off the kids, doing whatever you have to do, it's a perfect snack, and it works just as hard as you do. So if you're interested in Wonderful Pistachios to add to your snack cabinet, get snacking, get cracking. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com so you can learn more. Back here with LMF, we're talking some Marlins baseball. We are talking specifically the Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers trade that happened last summer with the Baltimore Orioles, in which the Marlins sent Trevor Rogers and got back some really interesting players that are contributing to this team. But really quickly, if you're an everyday listener, I appreciate you, as always, being a part of the Locked On Marlins crew. Share the podcast with your friends. Let's keep growing this as this season moves on further. If this is your first time, welcome in. hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. LMF, let's talk about this trade. I know you're a huge fan of it, and you think this could be maybe one of the most underrated trades in recent memory.
It's the steal of the century, right? When you trade away uh, a fifth starter, if anything, in a Trevor Rogers, even on a bad team, he could still be a fifth starter. But he only pitched 19 innings for the Baltimore Orioles in 2023. He didn't. The value in him for what we got back is slim to none in retrospect for them. And they, you knew the Baltimore Orioles had a very deep system with Holiday and others in there. And to make Stowers kind of like a second person in that deal because we needed an outfielder to come in. And Kyle Stowers came right away, came to Tampa. I think we were in Tampa when it was the trade deadline day. He flew in, got started, and he didn't have a great second half of last season or first half for him as a full-time major leaguer. The Connor Norby deal was a little bit different. Connor Norby was a higher touted prospect. He's a second base shortstop, more or less a second baseman. Marlins get him in. He actually hit his first ever home run in Lone Depot Park for the Baltimore Orioles a week before the trade deadline. So you bring in this kid, you saw him live. Obviously, they saw something they like. You bring him in, and you put him in AAA, but you put him as a third baseman, a position he's never played any time in his career. So not only are you putting a new position on a guy, and then he gets called up about a month into his tenure with us and really raked. Like he had a bunch of home runs. He was a hit machine. And coming into this season, he was probably one of the bigger names you had as a higher expectation. And to get those two talents, the way Stowers is overperforming anything any fans saw, you mentioned that, but he's totally overperforming what he was last year for this team. To even in a later age at 27, we know that they are good friends. They gelled. They're here together. And again, to give up 19 innings of Trevor Rogers, which I love Trevor, great pitcher as a person for us, former All-Star in 2021, to give him up and going, wow, we gave up that type of pitcher for these guys and really the fleece. Before I hand it back to you, which I apologize, this is a little ongoing for the fans. If you look at the history of Marlins trades, you go back to some that people have mentioned since I made a tweet that said this is a top Marlins trade yesterday. The Gary Sheffield trade is probably the all-time Marlins trade. You gave up Hoffman for him, but he wasn't who he was when he was dealt. And you get Sheffield, who wins you a World Series, was probably the biggest mainstay of that team and was overperformed as the all-star that he was when we first got him in 1993. But then the second one, I saw people saying Hanley Ramirez, but you gave up Josh Beckett and Mike Lowell for Hanley Ramirez. I have to rank this as a top 5, if not top 3 trade for the Marlins because of the talent and how they're performing now and what you gave up for him. And I like to hear everyone's opinion. All you have to do is go to the content that you're listening on and type in your comments after subscribing. We always appreciate the feedback.
Absolutely. I mean, always let us know your thoughts in the comment section if you agree or disagree. But I have to say, you think back to last year, if Peter Bendix doesn't make this trade, Trevor Rogers, he wasn't really expected to get traded. It was the surprise that the Orioles gave us Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers. And then you go through the rest of the season, the second half, Norby's producing, and automatically you're like, this is a huge win for the Marlins, even without Stowers and his production, which was very, very limited. I mean, he wasn't giving the Marlins anything. You came away with a player, a third baseman, who you project to be in Miami for years to come and potentially a cornerstone player. The organization believes in him. I believe in him. I think he's that talented. The hit tool, the power, he's a complete hitter. Just got to cut down on the strikeouts, right? And then this season, Kyle Stowers comes out of nowhere has a very impressive spring training with his approach at the plate. I cannot emphasize this enough. The hits weren't there, but the approach was completely different from last season. Last season, he's chasing everything. He's swinging and missing at everything. This spring training, he's taking his walks. He's biding his time. He's taking these at-bats, these quality at-bats. And although the strikeouts were still there, you could see that difference. So that was encouraging. And then it all comes together through the first 2 weeks of this season where he's seen the ball well. He's hitting everything hard. And I'm believing that this is a situation in which the Marlins have genuinely two players who can be everyday starters for the Marlins for this year, 2026, 2027. And you got that for 2 months of Trevor Rogers. It's a win. It was a win last year, but it certainly has reestablished itself as even a stronger win this season with the emergence of Stowers.
It's a game changer for sure. It changed your whole organization. We didn't get we didn't get a lot out of Stowers and enough to really talk good or bad about him. You know, switching teams mid-season like that, coming up, being a full-time major league player, he maybe his mindset, he left his friends, his family, don't know where he was. He walked a lot this spring. As you mentioned, he didn't get a lot of hits, but you know what? He's hitting in the majors. And at the end of the day, that's what matters most, is being productive and consistent. And he's been both consistently productive since the season began. It started off the opening day, right, when he drove in the winning run in the extra innings that we were already in. And he's not and we were even saying, oh, it's a fluke. It's a fluke. Nope, it's not a fluke. This guy's clutch AF. And he keeps doing it, helping this team win ball games.
And he's hitting lefties. I mean, for a left-handed hitter like Stowers, going into the season, it was, okay, he'll platoon against right-handers, and that's it. He's going to get eaten up by left-handed pitching. Not the case this season. And also, he's hitting fastballs. That was his weakness last season. He's hitting, I checked during the game of Sunday's game, he was hitting at a 280 clip against four-seamers. I mean, that is encouraging. He's fixing his problems at which he was struggling with last year and making them a strength. To pair that with his Savant page, you go type in Kyle Stowers baseball Savant. It's red across the board. The metrics, the outline metrics are predicting that this isn't a fluke. This isn't a flash in the pan. To go with that, he also plays good defense. The Marlins have one of the best outfield defenses in all the sport right now. I think second in defensive run save to the Colorado Rockies, if I'm stating that correctly based on a Luis Adio Weiss tweet. But in the next segment, go ahead.
I wanted to finish with the defensive part. Last year, he was trying to give up home runs. Remember in one of the games, it bounced off his glove, went over the left field.
Yeah.
They called it back to a double, but originally it was called a home run. So I'm making a joke at that. But he went from giving up fake home runs to catching home runs and sliding almost every game he is in, making amazing catches. And that only adds on to what Griffin's been doing, what Derek Hill and our face-planting friend Dane Myers did earlier this week. That defense in the outfield is outstanding. And guess who's not even there yet? And that's Jesus Sanchez.
Jesus Sanchez will be coming back, and Connor Norby, of course, the focal point of that deal with the Baltimore Orioles. He is on his way back, and both of them should be playing at some point this next week. I'm going to talk about their return and how the Marlins roster is going to really fit with them coming back to the lineup right after this. Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and you wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment. For example, yesterday, I just went to a roller coaster park. Really fun. I'm an adrenaline junkie like that. But it's easy to lose track when I'm spending money at those amusement parks. So that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals, like maybe going to a Marlins game or two. Hint, hint. Managing your money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set your goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. And an announcement here on Locked On Marlins. If you are watching or listening to the show and you say, last few Mondays LMF has been on, that's because for the foreseeable future, every single Monday, Loud Marlins fan will be on the show. So subscribe, hit those notifications so you don't miss any of our episode. We're going to always recap the weekend series, take a look ahead. It's a really fun day to podcast because the whole week's in front of us, the whole week's behind us, and we can give our total reactions. So LMF, make sure you follow this guy on X at Loud Miami Fan, and be sure to keep joining us every Monday as the season continues, and Monday through Friday, of course. I'll have various guests on the podcast, but LMF will usually be on every Monday. The key players coming back soon, Jesus Sanchez and Connor Norby, right? These two guys, before opening day, were probably projected to be the most consistent and most well-rounded hitters in the Marlins lineup. And they're 8-7 without these guys. And now they're on their return. They're doing their rehab assignment in AAA Jacksonville. They're coming back this week. I don't know what game. More news will be brought up later this week. But it's exciting because, to me, that's a positive addition to what already has been a surprising start to this team. What's your takeaway from this?
If you look at other teams that are struggling, like the Atlanta Braves, who have had a really tough season so far, you look at them and you go, okay, there's a lot of injuries. There's reinforcements coming in. But you're on a winning baseball team right now, an over 500 baseball team at 8-7. And now I don't even know if I could call them reinforcements, right? Because you're already doing so well, but your leaders are coming back. And to have them injected into the lineup, there's going to be some struggles at the beginning. It's them coming out of spring training, right? There's that 1 week they have to get back into it. I'm super excited to have Connor Norby back at third base. Third base has been a little bit of a weakness. And, Wagaman yesterday did have a 3-hit game. Good for him. But that's been a little bit of a weakness there. If you look at Graham Pauley, he's had some decent at-bats. But I could see him being the one of them that are being sent down, because I don't think you could send Javier Sanoa down with his skill set and really being your super utility guy. Your John Birdie, let's call him, of the team.
Yeah,
John was that good as a super utility that comparing them to John Birdie is well worth speaking of. And Javier Sanoa has done that, minus the errant throw, which didn't hurt them at the end of the day, the error in yesterday's game. But overall, Connor Norby coming back, he's going to solidify your third base and solidify that top 3-person, top 4-person in the lineup. Jesus Sanchez is the tricky one. And my first episode with you this season here, we discussed this. And where does he fit if they are playing this well still? And I'm going to throw that back out there. Where does he fit if this team is playing this well when you have an outfield? Forget the bat, but the outfield itself is just so darn good defensively. They're not making rookie mistakes that you'd appear. If anything, they're making veteran plays that you would see a Ken Griffey Jr. make, right? That they are making just spectacular. All of them, right? All of them are making spectacular catches. So I have to say this. If you're going to bring Sanchez back, he can't be an outfielder. He could be a platoon guy when needed, but he has to be the DH of this team. We need that extra bat in the lineup because he is a very powerful bat. But you can't take guys who aren't struggling out the way they are playing. You don't want to be down a run, get it to Sanchez, and he can't throw someone out at the plate like the corners have been doing, right? So that's my take on it. Sanchi, I want him on this team. We need his bat, but he can't be in the outfield.
No, I agree with that. I mean, Jesus Sanchez coming back, I'm excited to see his offensive production once he gets in a role because we know he brings the power. The Marlins are right now reliant upon Matt Mervis, and then they've had a couple home runs from Griffin Conine. We know Stowers has it, but Sanchez brings the power, and it's a huge boost. He's gonna play. He's gonna be in the lineup every day, but he has to be the designated hitter. He's not the level of defender that Dane Myers is, who's still kind of day to day right now. We're dealing with that not injury, but repercussions after he made that terrific catch in center field to end the New York Mets game. But you have Sanchez at designated hitter. I think that's where he should be. I don't think he should be in the outfield. Connor Norby takes third base. You plug and play him there. Now, what roster moves should the Marlins make in order to make this possible? You mentioned Graham Pauley. Before I said I wanted Graham Pauley to be on the Major League roster just because I liked his swing. I liked his experience as a prospect. It showed me, he's a good hitter. He just needs to adjust to the major leagues. He has a higher ceiling than somebody like Wagaman or Bride. The issue, Bride is out of options. Bride can't be optioned down to AAA, even though he's struggling immensely right now. And I don't know if 2024 was just a flash in the pan and this is what Bride really is. But Wagaman might be the odd guy out. It might be Pauley. I would tend to lean towards Graham Pauley just because recency bias, and Wagaman got a 3-hit day. He's shown some glimpses over these last 2 games, even though I was calling for his head on Friday night. But the Marlins like Wagaman. They signed him. They have the flexibility to bring up Pauley at a later time. I would expect Norby to come up, Pauley to go down. And then for Sanchez, this is the one I just don't know if they're going to send somebody down or they're going to have an injured list, put someone on the IL to create some more time for them to make a decision, because you can't justify sending down any of the current outfielders. You just can't. Not with how they've been playing, not with the defensive value they bring. And then Sanoha, his versatility. You mentioned John Birdie. He's like John Birdie without the glorious beard. But Javier Sanoha brings that versatility and can play all these positions. The Marlins love that. So for Sanchez, I don't know. Do you have any names that come to mind?
2 have to go down.
Yeah.
Paulie needs at bats. He's been good when he gets his opportunities, but he's the odd man out right now. And when Norby comes back, that has to be the move. I can't see any of like I said 2 weeks ago, if they are playing this well, Sanchi can't come back and ruin that. There's no baseball sense in making these moves. You can't get rid of Bride because you DFA him. Would somebody pick him up? Maybe not because of the way he's been playing this season. He's not his second half self of last year. But I have to say that it's going to be a tough decision for the leaders of this team. As a fan, I don't get to make those decisions, but I will have to accept whatever move they make.
I will say this with Pauley, because although he's his average, his numbers aren't necessarily there, it's hard to get in a rhythm and a groove when you're not getting consistent playing time, like you said. That's not indicative of his talent. It's just he's not getting the at-bats. And really quick before we get out of here, Matt Mervis, we talked about him and his power. He's somebody that I feel should get opportunities to play more. You look at the numbers, he's still not playing every day. In fact, on Sunday, he came off the bench and pinch hit, due in part, they were facing Mackenzie Gore, a really good left-handed pitcher. But you let Kyle Stowers, he's getting playing time against lefties. I want to see Mervis start to get phased into the everyday lineup more, because right now, I cannot deal with seeing Jonah Bride take strike 3 over and over again. And Eric Wagman, maybe he flipped a switch. I hope he does. But I don't know. I'm not 100% willing to say play Wagman over over Matt Mervis and hit cleanup. I'm not willing to say that just yet, but definitely over Bride.
If we were going by Friday's game, where I believe it was Friday's game, where Wagaman couldn't hit 2 feet. It was either Friday or Saturday's game
Yeah,
of
it
the
was
weekend.
Friday.
He couldn't hit 2 feet when there were 2 men on base in scoring position. And it's funny to say that, but it's true. But for him to come back the remainder of the weekend and getting three hits in Sunday's game yesterday, you're allowed to fail 7 out of 10 times in the major leagues, and as fans, we overreact a little bit. But yeah, Mervis, he will strike out. He's either strikeout or home run right now, preferably the home run and hard hit balls the way they're going. I have to also say Sanoa can be sent down, although we all agree he shouldn't. We both agree he shouldn't. I was listening to the broadcast, and they were talking about if he is sent down, it's not because of his skill level. They believe in him, but it's just they have to make moves, and you have to, for what he is, Norby and Sanchez are better in a way, right? They bring more to the plate, legit. And you have to have that at the end of the day.
It comes down to roster fit. I mean, Peter Bendix, Clayton McCall, they want to field a competitive team, and they're going to try their best to do that. And it's a good problem to have when we're sitting here on a Monday talking about Sanchez and Norby's return and worrying about, well, who's going to be sent down? We don't want this guy sent down. That's a good problem to have. The bad thing would be if we said it's very obvious these two players gone. Bye. See you in Jacksonville. But we're running out of time here, so that is going to do it for today's Locked On Marlins. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. For your second listen of the day, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale, so find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. And for LMF, for Jeremiah, until next time, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.